Number 10, we have F.E.A.R. or otherwise known as Fear. This classic game from 2005, it was also called First Encounter Assault Recon, is the perfect example of a sci-fi horror game. You play as a member of an assault team tasked with containing an escaped supernatural force. What follows is some of the scariest FPS gameplay ever made at the time. You have straightforward shooting, you have jump scares, you have super disturbing environments. Fear literally has it all. It is honestly a shame that the series kind of went downhill after the first game. Fear 2 was decent, Fear 3 kind of sucked, and Fear Online was, let's face it, complete garbage. But if you want a good, solid sci-fi horror FPS, go play the original Fear. You can still get it on Steam for pretty cheap, I think, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Okay, this game at number 9, some people cite as the weakest in the series, but that does not mean that it's a bad game. That just means that the series is really, really good. We have Doom 3 at number 9. If you're comparing Doom 3 to other Doom games, then yes, it's not the best. But if you're judging it on its own as a sci-fi horror game, it's actually pretty good. Released in 2004, Doom 3 was actually a remake of the first game while adding some more story, since the original Doom is pretty light on actual story elements. The game featured an interesting light mechanic in which you had a flashlight that you had to use to see darker areas of the space station you were trapped on, but you could only lift up your light by lowering your gun, making the atmosphere super tense and creepy, as there were times when you could only see what was in front of you and you were defenseless. If you're going to give this game a try, don't go in expecting a Doom game. Go in expecting a sci-fi horror game. If you do that, I promise you, you are probably going to love it. At number 8, we have Dead Space, the original Dead Space. This game came out in 2008 and absolutely terrified gamers everywhere. No one really saw the game coming either. It just appeared one day and went down in gaming history as one of the best franchises ever. You play as Isaac Clarke, an engineer who gets trapped on a space station during a horrifying outbreak that turns the infected survivors into monsters. Dead Space featured an interesting and gruesome mechanic that it dubbed strategic dismemberment, as the enemies can't be killed unless you remove their limbs and render them completely defenseless. Dead Space was critically acclaimed and is still a terrifying third-person shooter game today. At number 7, we have Metro 2033, released in 2010 by THQ and Deep Silver. This game kicked off the Metro series, which is an intriguing blend of science fiction, FPS, and horror. You put all those together, you have a pretty cool game. The game takes place in the year 2033, obviously, 20 years after a nuclear war left Earth in ruins and forced the surviving humans to live underground in subway tunnels and stations. And they formed various factions and sometimes warring with each other for the remaining resources on the planet. You play as a man, trying to protect his group of survivors from the other factions and various mutated creatures that are coming to wipe all of you out and, yes, steal your resources. The game relies heavily on lighting, or the lack of, for moving around stealthily to take down enemies or just to sneak past them. Both Metro 2033 and its sequel Metro Last Light were remastered and were released together as Metro Redux for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I highly suggest you give them a try. While the latest Prey game was great and had some scary elements, it was more focused on gameplay itself and the replayability. We're going to go back to number 6, and we're going to go to Prey 2006. The original Prey game is definitely worth a spot on this list, as it's one of the scariest and most unsettling sci-fi games ever released, in my opinion. After being in development for 11 years, that's right, you heard me right, 11 years, Prey released to critical acclaim thanks to its disturbing atmosphere and its intriguing storyline. You play as a man abducted into an alien ship. Everybody's on a freaking ship called the Sphere, and you try to find your girlfriend and grandfather who were abducted with you. As you venture through the ship, you have to fight off the aliens who inhabit it and try to figure out just what the hell is going on, as you quickly find out that the Sphere has been harvesting life from Earth in order to keep functioning. It kind of sounds like the Matrix in a way. Fun gunplay and interesting story and super creepy environments easily earn the original Prey a spot on our list today. After 5 years in development hell, we got our number 5 spot today, Alan Wake. It was released in 2010 to great reviews from critics and players alike, which isn't common. The game follows an author named Alan as he ventures around for clues, trying to find the reason for his wife's disappearance while he starts to witness the events of his recent novel coming to life. A book that he doesn't remember writing. At least it's not on a spaceship. The story was praised for its originality and creepiness, as it managed to blend real-life events with elements of thrillers and science fiction. The gameplay is also a lot of fun as you explore the world, hunt clues, and you start to feel stranger and stranger. Plus, the soundtrack is really good too. One of the best ever in my opinion. At number 4, Cryostasis Sleep of Reason. That's a hardcore title right there. I bet some of you have actually never even heard of this game. Released in 2009, Cryostasis takes place at a nuclear base near the North Pole during a horrible accident. It's either a spaceship or nuclear nuke something. You then have to go around the base and try to figure out what happened by going into the memories of other characters and changing their actions and, in turn, changing history. The game got mixed reviews due to some story elements, but the game itself is very, very creepy. The station is super eerie, and you never know what you're going to find when you go fishing through other people's minds. If we put Dead Space on here, it's only right to put Dead Space 2, okay? Everything that Dead Space did in 2008, Dead Space 2 did even better in 2011. Taking place 3 years after the events of the first game, you again play as Isaac Clarke. This time you are fighting against both the necromorph outbreak and your own brain. Fun, right? As you often hallucinate and start drifting into insanity in response to the horrific things that you've witnessed throughout your journey. Dead Space 2 amped up both the horror and the action and is one of the only horror games I can think of that added more action but still managed to be scary, as so many horror franchises make the mistake of just becoming action games. But Dead Space 2 proved that you could add more action and more sci-fi tech and weaponry while still maintaining all the things like the original and made it scary. People were pretty skeptical of this game when it was announced at number 2, and we have Alien Isolation, especially after the whole Aliens Colonial Marines fiasco. But when Alien Isolation finally came out, it proved everyone wrong. Developed by Creative Assembly, best known for their work on Total War franchise, Alien Isolation takes place 15 years after the events of the first Alien movie. You play as Ellen Ripley's daughter as she heads out to see what exactly happened on the ship that her mom was on when those xenomorphs attacked. As you venture around the ship, you'll encounter malfunctioning androids and the alien itself as it hunts you down with some of the best AI I've ever seen in a horror game. The game also tried to emulate a 1970s aesthetic, and it definitely pulled it off as you feel like you're playing an old school sci-fi movie. If you like the Alien franchise or just a good sci-fi game in general, definitely give this one a go. Alright, we've reached the number 1 spot today. Many people forget that BioShock was actually a spiritual successor to a game called System Shock. At number 1, we have System Shock 2, widely regarded as some of the scariest games ever made. Released in 1999, System Shock 2 puts you in the shoes of a soldier who survived a horrific outbreak aboard a space station that killed most all the other passengers. Yup, we're back on a space station. As you venture around and try to figure out what happened, you have to find weapons and supplies while fighting off the infected soldiers as the game blends sci-fi horror and RPG elements all together. The infected survivors often beg you to kill them when they attack you, further adding to the unsettling world that you are trapped in. System Shock 2 received critical acclaim due to its innovative gameplay, terrifying environments, and the main enemy in AI named Shogun being regarded as one of the best video game villains ever. The game has since been updated for modern PCs and re-released via Steam, so if you want to get scared out of your mind with a video game, go pick this one up. There you have it, my friends. Those are 10 of the scariest sci-fi games ever released. Let me know what your favorite would be on this list, or if it's not on this list, you can let me know that as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed. There's a playlist below if you want to check out all the other gaming top 10s. We put up a brand new one every single night at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Thank you for all the support, and I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new video.